comfort zone here. Try to go live. See if anybody jumps in and has good questions. Hopefully. Hey, Money Matrix. Thanks for hanging out. I've been derelict in doing lives, so it's time to get back to it. By the time I think about it every day, I'm too busy or it's too dark. So time to quit making excuses and do more lives. Well, Star, good to see you. Regular commenter there. I have no agenda for today. Just hanging out. Do it, Matrix. Please. If you have content, I'll have to binge it as well. Jeremy Davis. Doctor. Soon to be. Oh, cool. Thanks, Matrix. If you got stuff in there too, I'll have to watch it as well, now that I know your name. It doesn't always tell me who subscribes on the YouTube side. Instagram's pretty good about it, but YouTube doesn't usually doesn't tell me who comes on, or who subscribes, rather. So I'll have to do that. That's cool. Money Matrix sounds pretty interesting, actually. Uh-oh. Thought I came to class prepared. Too much in here. Oh, Jeremy, if you're still here, I will see you in a couple of weeks. I'm ready to see Doctor in front of your name, though. You've worked hard for it. Hi. Okay, old school it is. You're past the hard part, man. I think proposal's worse than defense is. My argument's always been that with defense, they already kind of know what you're doing. So I thought it was easier. It was definitely nerve-wracking, but I thought it was easier. Proposal felt like where I was being questioned the most. Yeah, that's what I felt. The only things I had to work out for, the only things I had to watch out for with the defense was questions that weren't necessarily specific to the topic. More like, how did you make sure that you represented a wide enough group, wide enough population with your surveys? Watching for any multicultural things, watching for any, it seems like it was more generic to a study as a whole as opposed to my specific topic. They knew the topic and my findings already, so that's not a question up there. I'll say Virginia-ish, a little west of there. Money. Little OPSEC, I don't give it away too much, but that's a pretty good observation for the green. I was just in Washington, D.C. about 2 weeks ago, and it looked about the same. I thought all the people that were from out of town, was jealous of how green it was around there, but it looked like home. So I'd say you have a pretty good observation. Virginia-ish. Yeah. So, yak on DC. Yeah. Yeah. I don't mind it there. Oh, good for you. Got out of there. I like the I'll see you, Jeremy. Be safe, dude. Um, I like the stuff that's in DC. I'm a big, I'm a big history guy, big military history guy. One of my favorite things to do is, if you haven't heard of them, is the honor flights where they take veterans, um, veterans to DC, take them around the memorials. It's all free. They fly them out there. So that's pretty cool. You take them, most of those guys, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s age, they've never made it out there. Travel wasn't as convenient after World War II and into Vietnam. The only sad thing about it, though, now that I notice is when I first started doing it, it was World War II veterans that were in their 80s and 90s. Of course, we're losing most of those. Have lost most of those. Not too many hanging on. And so, while I'm still honored to do it, now it's Vietnam veterans. So, which is cool, but it just makes me think of all the World War II veterans that we're missing, and we didn't get all their information. I feel like we couldn't have picked their brain fast enough. I've actually had a mentor of mine, somebody I consider one of the best trauma therapists in the world, was a colonel in the Army, Vietnam era. And he was a colonel when he got out. He went in and enlisted during Vietnam, but he got out as a colonel. And he just passed away back in August of this last year, so just short of a year ago. But he was a mentor of mine, and I did a lot of consulting with him. And he'd always try to not let me rush getting information. And I kept telling him, I got to get all the information I can. You may not be here forever. And he was in fairly good health. He was in his late 70s. He's in fairly good health. But I feel like I couldn't get the information out fast enough. Then, of course, he passed away suddenly in August. So I got to pick his brain a lot. He was definitely a good guy. But man, I love picking those guys' brain. World War II, Vietnam. Love talking to my younger veterans too, and actives. But that generation is just cool to talk to. Their story's not out there the way that some of the more recent stories are about Tier 1 people and combat and what goes on. So I found a penny from 1865. Wow. Yeah, gosh, I can only imagine. Found it on camera too. Very cool. Yeah. I think about grandfather, who was late 80s, early 90s when he passed, World War II Marine, had 3 landings. The third one was Iwo Jima, where he actually got shot and lived, of course. Came back, lived, and got a job at GE, and like they all do, and not necessarily talked about it a lot. He would talk to a few of us, but just might get this going a little better. Yeah, that's a whole different world of people. We came back and were humble about it. And now, the World War II ones being humble about it. The Vietnam, one of the saddest and neatest things about those honor flights. The first one I took, where it was mostly Vietnam, a couple of Korean War veterans. I think we didn't have any World War II on that one. A couple of years ago, it was before COVID, had it been. So when we landed back at the airport, because the stuff in DC, I've seen it 100 times. It's still amazing to me, and they've never seen it. So that's a cool experience to see them experience it for the first time. But when we came back and landed, we got to the airport. They were escorted through the airport, Alpha private American Airlines plane, and by a pipe and drum corps. And so that was really neat. I thought that was pretty traditional and cool. But what I didn't realize is there was about 100-ish people at the airport that had known that this was coming back, and they lined the terminal of the airport with, pro-military and America stuff and lots of signs that said welcome back. So I'm with this guy named Roger, this veteran named Roger, who was probably in his 70s, I'd say. He did a full Army career, but it started with Vietnam. And he really didn't get too emotional. Got a little emotional at the Vietnam Wall, as you can imagine, since that was um, his war. So he knew some people there, but not overly emotional. When we were walking to the terminal at the very end of this thing, where people welcomed him in home and all these signs and clapping and saluting, and we got to the end, he's just bawling. A big old tough guy, army guy. And I asked him, he said, "That's the first time since I left for Vietnam that people have welcomed us home." Some people have said thank you for your service and welcome home, of course, over his life. He lives in a small town, so people know, but that's the first time that people have welcomed him in mass. And I think we forget that sometimes. Yeah. Jason, good to see you. Badger. I always have to time these to make sure Bear's not in the middle of one. Because his reach is, not that people wouldn't watch one or the other or both, but his reach is so much wider. They have to make sure he's not in the middle of a live. And I was telling the folks on here earlier, I've been derelict of doing lives, so I need to be a little better about it. So I'd be halfway through this pipe already, but I didn't come prepared with the lighter very well. Yeah, treasure. It is awe-inspiring. I can't wait to do another one. They cut him off for COVID, and especially because that's a vulnerable population. When you're getting to the 70s and 80s, last thing you want to do is have that trip be a reason that they got sick. So, survived. Good to see you. Oh, good. Yeah, I'm thankful for Bear too. Although he's a very good friend of mine now, we talk on an almost daily basis. But yeah, lots of people have come here through him, and hopefully vice versa. His reach is quite a bit wider than mine. So, yeah, Badger, I'll be honest, I haven't done one in a while, so I don't think you're missing out on them per se. I need to do. I was just sitting on my family getting some stuff done, so I was kind of hanging out, getting some work done, and I decided I need to be done with work for the day, and I'm gonna try to get this pipe going. Although I didn't come prepared very well, and decided, I'll just turn this thing on. So, yeah, thank you. Yeah, appreciate it, treasure. Please dig into it. I've actually hired a social media person now. If you're on Instagram, you've probably noticed over the last couple of days a little bit of format change, and that's good. I have to be willing to admit my weaknesses, and creativity is not one of them. I like talking about mental health and public safety and military and some other random subjects, but it's definitely social media is definitely not my forte. I just want to kind of reach to the screen sometimes. So that's awesome, Badger. That's good to hear. That's what it's all about. I never get tired of reading those. It's about helping people. That's what I'm here for. It took me a long time to put all that together. Well, I got you, treasure. And don't beat yourself up too much about that. I think we all need the mental health help. I am derelict of reaching out regularly for help myself, because the helper's supposed to be the helper. We forget that sometimes. Sometimes the helpers need help too. I get to provide that by talking to public safety as helpers, military, even type A minded people that kind of run in the same circles. But I was telling somebody this morning at the office that we are the biggest hypocrites, meaning therapists. We're the biggest hypocrites about self-care. We tell everybody to get self-care, and then none of us do it ourselves. I went to the doctor just for a regular checkup the other day, and he's just, what do you, how stressed been? I'm like, stress is stress. I'm the guy that usually works 100 hours a week anyway, so no big deal. I'm always trying to improve my craft. I'm always trying to improve myself. I always want to get better and better as a therapist. But he's like, what do you do for fun? I'm like, well, I'm still a pretty avid reader. So, I try to get some reading done. He said, what are you reading? I was like, psychology books. It's not really anything entertaining. So it's not really getting away from stuff. Yeah. For sure. Men's mental health is often overlooked or ignored. You're right. This this is an area that I struggled in. Some of you have seen the videos of me talking about my story, or heard me talking with, on podcasts, which I've done quite a few of as a guest. And, it was an area that definitely ruined my career in public safety. Mental health did, or lack of good mental health. It ruined my career. It should have ruined my marriage and family, but I've got a cool wife and kids, and we're in an awesome place now. We've been together 20 years. But those marks of all those times of struggle was tough. I lost job, finance, family. Should have lost my house. This place, I'd have been devastated. This screened-in porch is my favorite place in the state. So, and as men, we're supposed to not need help. We're supposed to be the fixers. And then add on top of that, what do you do for a living? Are you public safety, military? We're supposed to be the ones that go out and fix things. Pastors are the same way. I've got a really good friend who's a pastor, and I think he's doing a better job now in his life of taking care of himself. But they'll work hard too, just to help others. And we're supposed to be the tough guys and not ask for help. Mothers, brothers, good to see you. Yeah, that's one of the tricky things is, good help does cost a little bit. Another man's treasure. Oh, AMTV, that's way easier. AMTV. So, in my office, I take insurance, of course. And to be perfectly honest, the only reason I take insurance in my office is because I know people need to use it. Because I'll tell you, man, if there were crappy people out there, I'm sure that there's some good people in the insurance industry that are good people, but I don't find a whole lot of them. They have no problem going to sleep at night knowing I'm not getting paid for what I promised to do, holding up my end of the bargain in the contract. So they got no problem going to sleep knowing that. There's times where insurance companies, one specifically that's here in this state, owed me $20,000. I had to get an attorney to get the money paid from them, which we had contracted that they would pay me for the work that I do. I did the work, they wouldn't pay me. All for silly reasons, and all for reasons that were wrong in their computer. It was a computer problem, and nobody could figure it out. So the only reason I take insurance at all in the office is because I feel like people have it and they need to use it. I know not everybody in the world, especially people that are hurting, are cash strong. So I do that. The online program is cash. It does cost a little bit, but there's price points, from $99 all the way up. So it's definitely doable. Maybe some people have to make a sacrifice to get to 99, or maybe they need a little bit more into the second tier, which is a little more expensive, but not, it does cost. Good help costs, but it is a doable thing. I try to make it economical for as many people as I can. But yeah, breaking things works for a short amount of time. Kicking in a lot of hotel doors. Yeah. Oh, I can only imagine. Gosh, and you think about kicking in hotel doors, like what a terrible setup for a barricade situation those are. Like the positive is, if it's your hotel regularly, the room layout. But how many hotels do you go to that right behind the door isn't 10 feet of a hallway, a fatal funnel, just waiting for you to come in? So, hopefully you have to kick it in for less than that kind of thing, but geez, man. Yeah, I appreciate you, mothers, brothers. Yeah, we're not a well-loved group, especially when it comes to the mental health sphere. I refuse, I won't say forever, but I definitely mostly decline going to any counseling seminars or a lot of trainings. I try to keep them more public safety or military related, or something more specific to my specialty, primarily because me and therapists just aren't the same. Me and most therapists, I have no interest in talking about what toe loop sandals and shawl I'm going to wear in order to match the spiritual well-being of my client, or whatever the hell people talk about these days. I'll go speak at them. I wouldn't say that I'd never go. It'd have to be for the right subject. But it's definitely a struggle for me to go and hang out with with counselors, because there are some absolutely that are like-minded, patriot-minded, but gosh, we're few and far between, you know. And I'm sure counselors would feel maybe just as uncomfortable going into my world of public safety, but gosh, it's definitely tough to find. You know, you're not supposed to seek it out as a man or as a strong-willed individual, and when you do, they act like it's your beliefs that are wrong, and they're not. The beliefs aren't wrong. It's your interpretation of issues that gets you in trouble. Yeah, treating yourself like an asset, getting the help is invaluable. That's so true. I was reading a book a couple of weeks ago, a fairly well-known psychologist, and one of his chapters is treat yourself as if you're somebody that you're responsible for helping. Um, you know, if we would treat ourselves with the same care that we treat other people that we want to see do well, or that we're in charge of helping, or whether it be your own kid or family member, wouldn't we treat ourselves so much better? But we're full of it. So yeah, that's the thing. AMTV. Once those kids come along, it's tough to keep kicking indoors. Tracy, good to see you. Hope things are going well. A couple time zones away, I know you are. So this was a spur of the moment thing. So I have to wait till some of the big names aren't doing their lives before I can try to join in or try to do my own. I've been derelict of them. I admitted to the group, so I need to do more of them. Thank you, Badger. I appreciate you as always. I'm not big enough to have moderators yet, so I'll have to do the canceling myself, I suppose. Need to fill my lighter, but I don't want to leave. Yeah, smoking will get you. I save it as I sit here and try to light my pipe that I did not come well prepared for. Yeah, I break stuff. I know. Palmetto Paratrooper. It's a great name, first of all, but thanks. I appreciate that. I'm glad you're here. Yeah, exactly, mothers, brothers. You know, what if we treated ourselves in the same way that we treat other people we're trying to help? Wouldn't we do so much better? I'm fully aware of your references, Badger, and I don't need them. You're good. So, Bama Buckeye, good to see you. Don't worry, you haven't missed very many. I haven't been doing them like I should. I've just been too busy at the homestead, at the office. Yeah. Yeah. So actually, on breaking stuff, there's a company here. I probably won't say their name just because it has the city name in it, but it's the city's name in Rage, Rage, and their whole premise is you go in, and I think you can either bring stuff or you can pay, and there's like breakable stuff all over this room, and they just give you a bat or an axe or I don't know, whatever, and you go in and you just break stuff for 15 or 30 minutes or an hour. I wish I'd have thought of that. But my kid, my oldest, is at a baseball game. We have a single A team. Is at a baseball game with her Girl Scout troop, and she smart-assingly says, "Hey, Dad, I think I found your therapist," and took a picture of the advertisement on the screen of this Rage place where you can go break stuff. So I thought it was pretty cool. I try not to do that so much anymore, but appreciate you, Tracy. You're pretty awesome too. I'm the least favorite person that I still put up with. That is an awesome statement. I'm my own worst enemy too. Northwoods Mama from Maine. Oh, we want to make it up to Maine sometime this year in the camper. I'll have to keep you in mind. Thank you, Mary. I appreciate you. Yeah, Rage therapy. It could build bad habits. I mean, you know, if you've got something specific in mind and you're going into like rage about it, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. It's definitely not the ideal way to deal with anger, of course. You know, the trick I always say, people ask me all the time, like, Doc, what's 5 things I can do when I get angry? And, tell people, nothing, because once you're angry, it's pretty much too late. The trick is to not get angry. Now that sounds like lip service because of course it's hard not to get angry. But angry is an unhealthy negative emotion. Has it served us at times for people that have had really hard jobs, had to do aggressive things? Absolutely. I can make an argument for that. But if we're being fair, 99% of anger is not serving us at all. And everybody knows that. I used to think that I would have to tell people all the time why anger was bad. All the time. I convince guys that come in why anger is bad. I don't have to, because everybody that's dealt with anger in a negative way has also been the person that sat on their bed later with their head in their hands wondering what the hell's wrong with me. I've ruined another Christmas. I've ruined another vacation. I've pissed off the wife again. I've pissed off my spouse. The kids are scared of me. I've screwed up Christmas again. My famous line back in the anger days was, oh, we're 5 minutes into a trip and I've already ruined it, right? Which would make me just even angrier. So we know that it's not actually serving a purpose. Now, if I use it for something like this rage thing, or, you know, for me, being a bodybuilder, you know, I absolutely take rage and anger into the gym. But I also know that it's serving me somewhat of a purpose. You know, that it's not necessarily me just getting rid of anger. I'm going in there for a reason. Does it help me push a whole lot of weight over my head? I would argue that there's times where it does. Matter of fact, I just had a discussion with a former trooper coworker not too long ago. We lost a sheriff's deputy who used to be a trooper here about 2 weeks ago now. And just as I was getting back from D.C., is a very close friend of mine, one of the nicest guys in the world. Got shot point blank by a turd, who also got shot, thankfully. And that may take me off YouTube, I don't know. But I said thankfully. But I was talking to my buddy that knew them both. We were talking about whether we were going to do a funeral and what we should do to help. And I said, man, I'll call you in a little bit. I'm at the gym early in the morning. And I told him later, I was like, it's amazing how much extra weight you can lift when you're thinking about what you want to do to that turd. And I won't use his name. He's a turd. Anybody that kills a cop at point blank range that's doing nothing but giving them a cigarette is nothing but trash, in my opinion. So I'm staying back here. Awesome, Northwoods. Thank you. Don, good to see you. All right, let's see here. Good to see you, sir, from Max. Been too long. Yeah, I appreciate Badger doing that. I need to be less derelict about doing these. I'm glad some people have come in. Sometimes you sit here for a minute and wonder if anybody's going to. Yep, still getting better too. Used to chop wood. I mean, that's not a terrible habit. But never heated with wood. That's funny. Just chopped wood. Yeah. Choosing to be calm is the choice. Yeah, AMTV. The thing that I always say that makes my wife frustrated is not the anger side; it's the anxiety side. She'll get really nervous about things, and I have this line of, the problem at 10 p.m. is going to be the same problem at 8 a.m. Let's get some sleep. And it's real, but she doesn't like that very much. Yeah, physical exertion is a good way. Yeah, once you get to angry mothers, brothers, you're angry. You're already there. That's I don't tell people to. I don't tell people that I can give you 5 things to do when you're angry. It's about not getting angry. It should be easy. I would like it to be easy to keep calm, but I'll just be honest with you. People suck. So I don't think it is easy. It is definitely a choice. You're right, though. But I don't know that it's easy. Just Bob's been angry for a long time. Good. That's good. I have my up and downs at the VA, Bob, so I'm glad that you're getting some experience, some good experience there. I think there's really good people there. I think the system is broken a lot. So I'm glad that you're. I went to one of my specialties is called EMDR, and it's specifically for mostly trauma, but it's for maladaptively or unprocessed memories. It gets overused a lot, but my very first training, I found this former Army colonel that was teaching it, so I knew that's somebody that I could probably listen to, as opposed to some weird hippy-dippy far left therapist that's going to tell me to feel my feelings or something crazy or do, I don't know. It's weird. But anyway, so I was like, I can listen to this Army colonel. That this kind of person makes sense to me. And the two people in the back of the room, as we go around and introduce ourselves, they were psychologists or social workers from the VA. And Dr. Hurley, who was the instructor, this colonel, said, wow, it's amazing the VA sent some people they never knew. They had both taken vacation for a week and paid for the class themselves in order to come and learn this to be better at the VA. So that taught me a lot about the VA right there. The VA uses VA a lot of times in the past has used exposure therapy. In a lot of studies, the success rate for exposure therapy is 11%. I'm no mathematician, but yeah, paratrooper, chronic pain, absolutely. Think about it. You're already in pain. You're already more irritable. Right? When I'm in pain, I'm already more irritable. Yeah, I know, Tracy. Get angry, I try to deal with myself. That's taking on a family. I'm not even void of that. Yesterday, I had some difficulty with a member on my online program, and I was just frustrated. It wasn't a massive deal, but I was getting frustrated how often it was starting to happen. It had to do with some subscription stuff, some scheduling issues, and my youngest was looking for my wife, who was just in the restroom. And I found my kid walking around out in the garage barefoot. It's not a major deal, we keep it clean, but that's not somebody I want to walking around barefoot looking for mom. Because she had told me that she looked for mom in the restroom, said she wasn't there. So when I came in, I was trying to voice my frustration about the kid telling me she had looked there, and it came out as frustration, towards my wife. Yeah, wrong VA. Yours also does have a lot to do with pain, Tracy. I know your story well. Yep, good, Bob. Yeah, that's something that I've never told people that they have to have been there in order to understand, but I definitely understand what I call borrowed credit. So when an officer or military member comes in, or anyone in public safety, comes in and they start talking about fatal accidents. I don't know their fatal accident, but I know fatal accidents. So they talk about their shooting. I don't know their shooting, but I've been in shootings. So I never pretend that I understand what they're going through, but I can definitely. There's no shock value to me because I have carried that gun, because I have been in, domestic combat, I guess, would be the better way to say it. Not overseas, but yeah, AMTV, thanks for coming on. I appreciate you. Passed a big exam today. Awesome. I'll be glad to hear more about it. I carry a gun at all times too. That's why we're friends. I get it, Trooper. It's tough. Like I said, I don't tell other therapists that are interested in working with public safety or military or trauma that they have to have been there. What I tell them is, don't pretend that you understand them. If yes, it's much easier to talk to somebody that's been there, and that's definitely going to give me, like I said, what I call borrowed credit. But I also believe that you can be effective as a therapist. Just don't pretend you understand. Because if you haven't been there and you tell me you understand, our conversation is over. If I were the client, I never tell my clients that, even if I've had some of the exact same thoughts, near experiences, near scary things happen. I've been involved in shootings. Have been to really horrific scenes. Yes, that gives me a lot of borrowed credit. Yes, I think that makes us easier to talk to. That's who I would feel comfortable talking to, somebody that's been there. But I know that there's some therapists that are interested in being more involved with public safety or the military, and I just tell them that's fine. Just don't pretend you do understand. Don't compare their shooting to, your kid almost getting hit by a car. That was scary, absolutely, a traumatic moment. But just don't compare. Don't act like you do understand. And I think that makes a big difference. I never use the words I understand. That's cool, AMTV. I'll be, I don't know, I'll be around for a little bit. The family's putting some stuff together, so once they're done, I'll jump off, but I'm not in a big hurry. Yeah, dude, I'm telling you, I'm exactly the same, Palmetto. That's what, if you're willing to identify with with biologically, brain wise, and an understanding of what trauma does to the body and to my decisions and to my thought process, that I will let somebody say they understand, because that's trauma to the brain is trauma. So if they're willing to approach it from kind of that medical model, and tell me they understand the medical model, I'm okay. But yeah, as soon as you tell me that you understand what I'm going through, conversation's over. I'm not going to listen to that person anymore. You know, or at least I'm going to try and educate them from a therapist route, that that's not the right way to go. And yeah, I would have a lot of trouble continuing to listen to that. I recoil, yeah, anytime, because here's how it feels to me. Here's why I recoil. It's the same as everybody else chirping on the internet, that they know what public safety, military, people in high risk careers go through. No, you don't. You don't have a clue. Stupidest comment I read on the internet. They knew what they were signing up for. No, I didn't. I was 21 years old. I was an idiot. Yeah, one of USMC. My brother-in-law just retired after 30 years of enlisted service. Got out as an E9 Master Gunnery Sergeant. One of my somebody that I highly look up to. If you see me staring blankly, I'm reading. Only two show up at a time, so I have to scroll through them. Do you think the effects of trauma from being shot at is similar to physical abuse as a kid? So yes and no. Here's the thing that is the same is the brain sees trauma, right? Trauma is, in my wording, there's other definitions. Trauma is anything that the brain doesn't know how to handle, right? I'll give you an example. Not too long ago, in the city that I live around, there was an officer involved shooting, and this person had been in this officer had been in some pretty chaotic stuff before. But when we got to talking about why the brain does this, and which is how I spend my first session with people, because I want them to know that they're not crazy. This is something that's going on in the brain. Um, Mainly because I want people to see they're not crazy. This is a limbic system issue. We're going to deal with it. It's a fixable problem, just like a broken leg is a fixable problem. So he's involved in a shooting, and you know, so what was the worst? When you think of that image, what was the worst part of that shooting? And instead of saying, "Oh, the bullets flying," or the car getting hit, or my friend asking for help on the radio, it was the fact that suddenly I felt completely out of control. They handled the situation, but felt completely out of control. That's the trauma, right? So whether it is a shooting as an adult, whether it is abuse as a child, think how that connects to abuse as a child. You're too young to have a prefrontal cortex, the thinking part of the brain, to understand what's going on. You're in limbic system, you're in emergency mode. That's all you know. So there's lots of things that we'd have to discuss as well about, that you're too young to even know what's going on. And that can come with a lot of not good enoughs and a lot of regret and a lot of shame. So there can be some intricate differences about that. But the trauma part of it is still the brain going, what the hell just happened? Right? I'm suddenly, for the first time, out of control. I've been through all this training. I know how to shoot my firearm. I know how to affect a target. I know what to say. I know that I've made a conscious decision that this is going bad and I have to shoot. But the brain still goes, what the hell? Right? That's the trauma. So in that instance, yes, I think that the adult trauma of being shot or being in a shooting, being in combat, that's the part that would also mirror childhood trauma, because it is the brain still going, what the hell's going on here? When somebody comes in and does something, whether it's neglect or abuse, sexual, physical abuse, whatever it could be, or whatever it may be, physical abuse, I think is what you asked. Yeah, it can be very similar, because it's still the brain going, what the hell's going on here? We're in danger. Yeah, that's tough to admit, Just Bob. My anger affected my health very badly as well. I have to be very careful with it. It is a short list, paratrooper. You're right. Now I will admit, in the years I've been doing this now, I spent 15 years in public safety, and now I do this. In the years I've been doing it, I have been finding more people that have been there. They're few and far between, but I have been finding people to make that list a little longer. Which is pretty cool. That um, that there are, I thought I was like the only one that got out of law enforcement and did this, and there's actually quite a few. Same as the military. I will actually get inquiries once in a while of people across the nation that are prior military, prior police service, prior public safety, and are doing this now. So the list is growing. I think some distance learning helps with that. It's letting some people do college more than traditionally before, and not have to sit. The nice thing that was part of you can't do the whole degree distance learning. You have to do some residencies, but to get the PhD. But the nice thing was I didn't have to sit in class with a bunch of 18-year-olds that didn't know what the hell they were talking about. Appreciate you, 844. I appreciate that. That's nice to hear. See you, mothers, brothers. I know you comment regularly, so good to see you. Thank you. It is the thank you for your service, right? Which has become such a frustrating, not a frustrating. I think people still mean it well, but it's so cliche now, right? Is it normal to have I should read these before I read them out loud, but I don't. Is it normal to have an event blackout where you can't remember a lot of stuff? Yeah, so, well, maybe normal is not the right word. It would be dysfunctional, right? But that doesn't mean crazy. Dysfunctional just means not functional. Like, it's not good for us. So, a couple of things about blackouts. One of the things that I see regularly in my office in the online program is memory problems, and too young to be having them, 30s, 40s, 50s. There could be some biological stuff going on, right? But I wholeheartedly believe that trauma does affect memory, and this is why. Maybe to the blackout point, maybe not. There may be a different point for that, but here's why it affects memory. Trauma makes the other things in life irrelevant, right? If you're dealing with large amounts of trauma, again, the trauma being the things that the brain doesn't know what to do with. If you're dealing with heavy amounts of trauma, why the hell would your brain care about the water bill being due, or that the wife asked you to do something, right? Like, we want to remember those things. We want to do good. We don't want to just be stuck in trauma. But if I'm stuck in trauma brain, I'm stuck in that mode. Why the hell would I care about where I left my car when I first parked it, right? I mean, maybe when I first got there, I did my typical 15, 2,500 yard scans. I was still tactical about it, still safe about it. But, how many times I've gotten off a plane and thought, dang, I should have taken a picture of the number of the pole that I was near so I can get back to it. Because I usually would remember that just fine. But now I've been gone on a 5-day trip helping people with trauma, and I can't remember where my damn truck is. So it makes you feel crazy, first of all, which I think helps impact or hurts mental health. But trauma makes other things feel irrelevant, right? So of course there's memory stuff there. Now, blackout, it would kind of depend to me as is this blackout of a trauma related event, or is this just blackout of a memory? Well, one, it may be on that side of what I just talked about of trauma makes everything else irrelevant, so we're done with that memory. And there's also some blackout to not wanting to remember, right? I've talked to hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, of trauma victims that can't remember details about the event. Why? You're in fight or flight mode. The brain's not really concerned about remembering details about the event, right? There's things going on in the body. Well, one of the things I think is interesting, and this isn't quite blackout, but I think it's interesting about how the brain does things in trauma. The left and the right side of the brain have two different capabilities, two different things. So the left side of the brain is that logic side of the brain. It knows how to deal with things. Things are on a shelf, ready for you when you need them. And the right side of that brain is the chaos side. It's incoming information. So what we found through brain scans is when that right side limbic system is on, when the true fight or flight is on, the left side of the brain is inhibited. It's turned off. We used to think it was just slower. It's turned off. Well, one of the things on that left side of the brain, I don't want to be switched on here, but the left side of the brain is what's called the Broca's area. Broca's area is responsible for some of your more intelligent speech, right? So it's turned off. So I would go to, I would talk to, say, a rape victim. And of course, I would never question how they handled it. They handled it however they felt they needed to handle it at the time. But one of the things I always wanted to ask them was, why didn't you call for help? Your roommate was just in the next room. How come that didn't cross your mind? Not questioning them how they handled it. Just curious. Why didn't that cross your mind? And so often they'll say, "Oh, I tried to call for help, and the words wouldn't come out." Right? So Broca's area is turned off. It's one of the reasons that when we teach you to use a firearm in public safety and military, we teach you to say something, right? Stop police, drop the gun, don't resist, whatever it is. Because we have seen videos where if we didn't train you what to say, and that right side gets kicked on and the left side, Broca's area, is turned off, and you draw your gun and you go, that doesn't look good on a body cam, right? So that may or may not be the blackout you were talking about, but I wouldn't say it's normal to have the blackouts. It's definitely not a good thing, but it's certainly explainable. I haven't heard that, Badger. That's pretty funny. Distance learning. Yeah, Palmetto, I got you there. Loss of faith in government, and the thing that I struggle with the loss of faith in government is I was the government, at least a representative of it in some way. I wasn't out there enforcing a law that one senator came up with or something. I was enforcing the law, trying to protect people, but I was a representative of the government, and to lose faith in it, that's tough for me to swallow. That I was there. 82nd Airborne. I should know more history. I don't know much about specifically 1957, but I've been to Bragg a lot, doing some teaching. Bragg and was that Fayetteville and Jacksonville. I've been to quite a bit. Some teaching. It's not too far from me. Yeah, I have a lot of memory issues too. I understand that. Good comment, Badger. I'm with you, 844. That's a lot to take on, and how can we, even if it doesn't go poorly at home, how can we not expect that it's going to affect the way we are at home, right? How can we not see that? I spend 10, 12, 24 hours, depending on what your job is, weeks at a time, deployments at a time, running on that stress of adrenaline. I'm supposed to come home and shut it off and be a normal person. It's doable. Your dad's 101st. I've been out to Campbell a lot too. I've done more at Campbell than I have at Bragg. Yep, it's easy to have them come home and deal with that. Yeah, it was Just Bob. It was shell shock back then. They called it, which is a terrible name, shell shock. And I don't know if you were here earlier. I was talking about that I get to go on this thing called honor flights, and the last one I got to do was with mostly Vietnam. The World War II vets. There's not many left anymore. So I went with some Vietnam, a few Korea vets, but mostly Vietnam. And one of the reasons they didn't get help, so shunned from it, even though it's not always better now, we had got back to the airport and we're going through the terminal at the airport, and there's hundreds of people with signs, welcome home, thank you for your service, American flags, saluting them, kids in uniforms, and this really tough guy that I got to escort on this, more than 20-year Army vet, which started in Vietnam, is just bawling at the end of it. And I thought, well, that's pretty emotional, but man, I've seen a lot of emotional stuff today, and he didn't get emotional. And he said that's the first time since Vietnam that a group of people have welcomed him home. Amazing. You're right, 844. I wish I could tell you differently. You know, one of the major things that causes us, and I myself have done an extensive study back in 2019, I think it was, an extensive study on operational stress versus organizational stress. Operational stress being the stuff that we do every day. Organizational stress being the organization of law enforcement as a whole. Not just the admin, but the admin was part of those questions. And as I suspected, the stress of the operational side went down. You know, you get used to handcuffing and eating late and searching buildings and missing holidays. And so that stress would go down over a 25-year career. And what I found was if that went down, the organizational stress went up 3 times what the operational stress went down. So it turns out it's not the job that's killing our people and making it more stressful. It's the organization of law enforcement as a whole. And you're right, you get it from both ends. You're damned if you do, damned if you don't. That's a tough decision to have to make, AMTV, for sure. And you're right. That's a great comment. Palmettos, they don't know what you're thinking before. And the only thing that helps me with that is it's the same mentality I take when people are bashing public safety and military. It's not okay. I don't like it. We need to change it. But they also don't have a flying freaking clue what they're talking about. They have no clue. They have no clue the stuff that we've done and seen. And unfortunately, you can't explain it. You know, I have the saying: until you see it, you don't see it. So you'll never explain to them what that's like. You'll never be able to explain what we've seen. If you're on here earlier, one of the stupidest comments in the world that I hear is they knew what they were signing up for. The hell I knew what I signed up for at 21 years old. Give me a break. Nuclear shot, that's a tough one. Yep. And sometimes that, you know, I don't know statistically or mathematically which one of those tend to cause more trauma and stress, because they both have their own, right? What if you didn't shoot, couldn't shoot, right? You know, it sounds like you could have if you, or you would have if you could have. What if you never had a chance to shoot and it still went south and somebody else got hurt? Now I spend the whole time blaming myself that somebody else got hurt because I was too chicken to do what needed to be done. It's not true. It sounds like you made a conscious decision that you didn't have the right check boxes before you pulled the trigger, which we all have to, you know, that we all need. Or then you do shoot, and then you have to question, you know, the chaos of taking another life. It's a catch-22. And then, of course, no matter which decision you make, you're going to be scrutinized by the press, the public, and your own agency. Yep. Check boxes weren't there yet. So, wow, 54 minutes. Gosh, man, these go by so fast. I need to do more of them. Palmetto says, basically Bradley Moon. Yep. I think the feeling of betrayal and being lied to, you know, as I said before, there's no trauma hierarchy, but it definitely affected me more than some of the hard decisions I had to make in public safety. You know, so if anybody heard my story, I went with the whole thing, but part of that is that I did reach out for help from my agency to the person that and I don't hold this against him. I think he had some restrictions that wouldn't let him, but we had a therapist on staff, and he said he doesn't really do longer term therapy type of stuff. You know, he does more critical incident, officers involved in shooting. Again, no ill will against him. I think he was kind of bound by the leadership that he was under. He gave me the names of a couple of people that he felt like could help. The first lady cried when I told the story of what was going on with me in my life, and the second gentleman, or the second therapist, the first gentleman said that my PTSD and my anger were so bad he didn't know what to do with me or where to send me. So here I did reach out for help, and then lost my job, and betrayal to this day is probably still the strongest negative feeling I have about that whole incident. Um, I try not to dwell on it too much. I will admit that there is a brown envelope on my shelf in my office, which is the denial of my pension for the third time. Sometimes I make the mistake of having a couple of bourbons and reading it, and it's not good because that causes me a lot of anger. But it's the betrayal, right? It's the you were promised that you would always be taken care of if you got hurt, and it turns out that's a bunch of horse shit. And I'll say that to anybody who wants to hear it. And I hear it over and over again in my career now about how poorly people are treated after they're hurt. Yeah, Tracy. Because I know your story. The betrayal is big there, but it's that. I, I don't want to speak for you, but I bet you use the same words. That you promise you take care of me if I made the right choices. I made the right choices. Now I'm just a pawn of your politics and saving money and all that. Again, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but that's the betrayal. Yeah, when you believe in the cause, it's much easier. That's a scary situation. Elevator, that's a terrible place to be. Yeah, it's the betrayal that still affects me to this day. And I think if I was being honest, the loss of job's upsetting, but I've come to terms with the fact that I'm doing something to serve now, and this is kind of cool, and I've kind of found my niche, and maybe this was my calling, and I didn't even know it over public safety. But yeah, 15 years of grinding through public safety, and I can tell you exactly where I was standing when they made me sign my resignation. I'll give you a hint. I went back in and lifted really well that day. Pretty pissed off. Yeah, that's a scary situation. But yeah, I think the betrayal, if I'm being honest, affects me more today than the loss of pension or which financially affects me, and I think it's bullshit. But that's a whole other part of the story. And but that affects me more now. Makes it hard to trust anybody. I know there's some I know there's some people I can, but they're few and far between. I'll tell you that. I'm gonna stay on for about another minute or so. We'll make this rounded out an hour. I can see my family starting to move around from the project they were doing, so I'm gonna spend a little time with them. I'll stay on for another minute or so, see if anything else comes up. I appreciate y'all coming. Sometimes I hit the button and wonder if anybody's coming, but you guys spread the word a little bit and got it in, and maybe this is what I need to remind myself that I need to do these more often. A little bit of it's the weather. I hate sitting at my desk and doing these. Like I do the videos. That's a good place to yell at the camera, but my screened in, I don't know, 20 by 30 porch out here, listening to the crickets, and I can't believe the rooster hasn't crowed. I guess it's because the sun has gone down too much. But listening to the crickets and the bugs out here is a pretty cool place to talk about this stuff. Mary asked, what platforms do you feel comfortable? So, um, YouTube is probably still the most prolific, where I share them and store them. Now, they're all backed up. Every one of them are backed up off of the internet. So, um, if something were to happen or they were to kick me down or block me, it's happened before. Instagram's banned me before. I had to fight to get it back. Um, I'll have to find another avenue. Now, when I do more videos that I think are going to cause more of a rift, I will use Vimeo to host them, and then I'll just put a link somewhere. They tend to not be quite as not quite as picky. So, thank you, Badger. Be blessed too. But yeah, right now YouTube is still where I'm at as far as sending stuff out. You know, they're still the kings of getting information out, and stuff like this, and you know, recommended videos. It's how I found a lot of people that I follow. I'm glad you jumped on too, Tracy. Oh, good. I need to get on the Discord. I'm glad that Badger was able to put that on there. That's not something I've ventured into yet. So, yeah, thank you, brothers. Shoot, AMTV, what do you got? I feel like I look blind when I'm trying to read the comments. Appreciate that, Bama Buckeye. I do. Old Bear. Yeah, Rumble is one, and then I know that there's been a couple other names come out. I do need to get on the Discord. I know there's a couple other names come out of places that are a little more willing. I honestly haven't experimented with them too much yet. You know, as those on this chat will tell you, I go about 100 miles an hour at all times, so it's just not something I've been able to experiment with yet. I've actually finally, for the first time ever, turned my media accounts over to a media manager that thinks a lot like me. So I'm already impressed with what she's doing, but hopefully that will bring more people to the channel. So doing mental health when you feel like you live in a prison. Ooh, yeah. That's a good statement. I'll keep it in mind, Badger. I appreciate you. I'll have to do a little more digging into whether I need it or not. Honestly, I don't know much about it. I think I've got a username on there. I was trying to get in some like cigar smoking rooms, but I think I got frustrated eventually. So, yeah, it does feel like everything's a scam. You know, the hard part about that too is when there are those of us out there, and you know, I'm a confident person, a confident therapist, but I won't sit here and tell you I'm the best in the world. I'm not that kind of person. I'm constantly trying to improve my craft. I'm constantly trying to get better at what I do, but you know, I don't want to be overconfident. I don't want to be cocky, but I think I provide a good service, whether it be this or the office or the online program. But it's really hard to get people to check into an online program when there's so much bullshit out there, you know, so much scam crap. And I think if people were able to see how robust the program is, both being able to connect with me through messages and video and one-on-one videos or group Q&As like this, you get information daily about Stoic philosophy and rational therapy, which is, in my opinion, is what fixes this. We got to change your philosophy. It's got daily accountability check-ins that you do and things that I ask of you. If people could see it and understand how robust it is, they'd be much more interested. The problem is getting people to see that stuff because there's so much bullshit out there. They just, you know, you sign up for somebody that sounds like they know what they're talking about, and you waste your money for a month and makes it harder on the rest of us. Let's see what else we got here. Hard times coming indeed. That one's easy, AMTV. It's the angryvikingtherapist.com. All one word, the angryvikingtherapist.com. Smash the red button, put your information in, and you'll have access to at least kind of learning about what the process is. Also, on the Instagram, which is just Dr. Trevor Wilkins, Dr. Trevor Wilkins, the media folks, my media staff, put up a post yesterday of what the tiers look like, which I thought was kind of cool. I've never publicly posted that before, and we're trying that out. I wish I could say that surprises me, Palmetto, but it doesn't. Not in any way, shape, or form. So it's much easier to get a rating on some things. So, all right, well, gosh, 16 of you. I hate to leave now, but I've been here for a little over an hour. I'm seeing the family start to move around from their projects. I'm going to go hang out with them while we still have a little bit of the evening left. Thank you a ton for coming on here. You know, it reminds me that I need to keep doing this and people want to hear it. So I don't need the pats on the back. I'll do this either way, but it definitely makes it easier to make a decision about doing more of these. So I'll look for some more warm weather days. I'll be better prepared with my stupid lighter that didn't light. And I'll sit out here and smoke for an hour or two. And bless all of you. Please be safe, and we'll catch you on the next one.